My name is Bill Wake. I'm a coach and teacher with Industrial Logic, which is a consulting company based in Berkeley, California, but I'm in Williamsburg, Virginia. If you've heard of me before, it's probably because I've been around a while and invented the INVEST acronym for user stories a while back, and have a couple books on refactoring, one on Refactoring Workbook, which is focused on Java, and Refactoring in Ruby, which I worked with Kevin Rutherford in Ruby. Um, with with that, though, let me stop and give some thanks. Thanks Emily Bache, who put together this Gilded Rose exercise in Java, and thanks JetBrains and for IntelliJ and for hosting this. So what we're going to see today, I'm going to work through this Gilded Rose exercise pretty much at full speed. I'm going to use the IDE where I can. I've got a plugin, the presentation assistant plugin that will tell you the shortcuts and keystrokes I'm using. So I'm going to try and use those as I go through. If I have refactorings I want to do, sometimes I have knowledge that IDE doesn't, or the refactoring's too obscure, and I'll do it by hand when I have to, but I'll have to be a little extra careful at that point. And then along the way, we'll see one thing is what I call the paradox of duplication. And that's the idea that increasing duplication can make it easier to reduce duplication sometimes. So you'll see examples of doing that. Another one is a pattern I call, or a tactic I call, isolate, improve, and inline, where you'll see I'll take a section of code, extract it out maybe to a variable or method, clean it up a little bit, and put it back. Another little tactic you'll see is one I call the if statement swap, and maybe a couple regular statement swaps too. But the if statement swap, I may have conditions in the opposite order I want, and I'll swap them around when it's safe. And finally, I'll just encourage you that this is a code kata. It's intended for practice. So if you haven't had much chance to try practicing things like this, give it a go. I think you'll find it fun. All right, so the exercise we're working with today is the Gilded Rose. It's a pretty complicated store, and it's got some very obscure items, and it's got some rules about the value of these items. So basically, items have two values with them. One is sell-in, which is how many days we have left to sell it, and the second aspect is the quality. So how valuable is it? So I always think of things like bananas. You know, when you first see them at the grocery store, they're maybe green to yellow, and they've got a price on them. But then if the grocery store keeps them around a few days, they start turning brown, and they have to lower the price. And the items in the Gilded Rose store is somewhat like that. Gilded Rose is more fantasy items, and there's some complicated rules. I won't walk through all the rules here, but we'll see them as we go through the code. We're going to treat this as a refactoring exercise, but the real goal in the end was they're going to have a new type of item called conjured, and they're going to degrade in quality twice as fast as normal ones. So we'll clean this thing up to a decent point where it's pretty easy to install that. I'll probably mangle a Kent Beck quote, but to make a change that's hard, clean it up so that the change is easy, which might be a hard process, and then make the change. And we'll try and do that. Okay, so we'll walk through the pieces here. So the test case, I did a little work already to pull out an existing kind of system level test and make it a JUnit test. So it just creates a bunch of items of various sorts and runs through a little simulation of the days going by to see what the quality is in the end. And then we have an expected value up here. All right, the source code side, we have an item class, and there's a constraint that says we're not allowed to touch it. In the fantasy world of the Gilded Rose, there's a troll that owns the code and doesn't like the code being touched. So we can't change this class. You'll see that we would like to at some point, so we'll have to do a little compromising there. And then finally, we've got the Gilded Rose code itself. And I'll just take a quick walk through things and just highlight them a little bit, and then we'll go through and start cleaning things up. So we're passing in an array of items to start with. That was what we saw in the test. And then we see we're running over all those items and then checking the name various ways and looking for Brie, Backstage Passes, Sulfurous, and you can see we're updating the item quality. And then some sort of default case or something. Here's passes again. All looking at the sell-in to decide how to update the quality. And then down here we see that we're updating the sell-in under some circumstances. And then finally, if the sell-in is less than 0, so in some sense it's maybe expired, we update the quality a bit more. And then as I look at these qualities, I start seeing these numbers, right? Items quality less than 50, then item quality equals quality plus 1. I see that a couple times. Yeah, several times in here. So this is what we call conditional complexity. There's just a lot of if statements depending on things. We see, you know, ampersands and nested ifs and all that kind of stuff. It's just really hard to take apart and understand. And if we wanted to extend it with those conjured items, it's not really clear. Like, where do we put our code that updates the conjured? Is it here, or down here? You know, what makes sense? So we're going to start and just do kind of a high-level extracting and clean things up a bit, enough to make it readable to us, and then see where we can go. So I'm noticing there's a loop, and this is update quality. So I'm just double-clicked on the brace, and I'm going to say update one item, because that appears to be what's going on. Okay, so we have our for loop. You can see on the bottom there, extract method via Alt-Control-M, which is the keystroke I typed. My for loop's running through each item and then just calling update one item on each. And I see a little bit of marks in the gutter, no red, so it's nothing super serious, but I like this suggestion, replace for each with for, okay? And Alt Enter, and I can let IntelliJ do that. So just to make that a little touch more readable. Okay, and now looking here, I don't really know what's going on, but it looks like kind of 3 paragraphs. So this kind of is one block, then the second one with the sulfurous and sell-in. So let's just extract this. And it mostly just seems to be updating quality. So let's just call it update quality for now. Okay, takes an item in, that's what I'd expect. Okay. This one is looks to be updating sell-in, so let's call it that. And this one is updating quality if sell-in less than 0. Let's just pull this part, and I'm going to call it update expired, because it seems like this is when the sell by date is gone. Okay, so at this point, this method is what we might call a composed method. It's kind of all at a similar level of discourse. Given an item, update its quality, update the sell-in. We might pull this out. Has expired. Okay, so this reads pretty well now. We update the quality, update the sell-in date. If it's expired, then we update it as an expired item. All right, and you know, the thing is simpler at this place. It's still relatively ugly down in these other ones, but at least they're kind of all in one place and smaller. So let's tackle this update quality one first. So I see that if not this and not that and so on. I'm going to use one of the little smart helpers here, invert if condition, and just try and make this all a little better. Okay. At least it's kind of in a forward direction now. Let me format. Okay. Okay, so I've got this case. Yeah, sorry, my clicking skills here. Okay. This is the case where it's either a cheese or a concert. So let's just extract it out. Okay. And I see down here, I'm looking at the quality greater than 0, and then I see the item, then I'm checking the item name. You know, the way this is coming out as an if statement, I'd really like to see looking at item name. I'd like that to be kind of the overall pattern of this thing, is to start by figuring out what to do based on the item name. So I'd like to just swap these 2 lines. Notice that item quality and item name have no dependency on each other or anything like that. So there's no problem with me doing that. So I just moved the line up and swapped it around just to kind of make things consistent there. And let me, since this is an if not, let's invert this. Okay, and so now I see I look for cheese or concert, otherwise I look for this sulfurous, otherwise I have kind of a default path. And let me see if I can merge this. Okay, out there. So I'll do it manually. Sometimes we can get it automatically. Okay, and I forgot my starting point, as often do, but we should be running these tests. So I'm going to hope it's still green, because it was before the lights and camera came on here this morning. Oh no. Okay, so I've messed something up. Sorry about that. I'm just going to back it all the way out. Real life, I'd have my source control on, but I didn't do that today. Sorry. Okay, so we're starting clean, and I'll repeat these pretty quickly. Just update one item. Oh, sorry. Update quality. Update sell-in. Oops. Update expired. And I've been using straight automated refactorings that I pretty well trust, so I think I'm going to have no problem here, but run it again just to be sure. Okay, and now we'll go back in here. I'll take the smart call, invert that condition, and clean up the format. Okay, we're getting back to where we were. Okay, and then let's take the body here, or pass. Okay, and I'll run again. Okay. All right, so let's do this swap, reformat, and that one's not automated, so it's a riskier move. Okay, but that worked out okay. Okay, and I'll do the invert. Okay, and again, I trust it, but trust but verify. Okay, so I've got the structure closer to what I want. I'm looking for a name if it's Brie or Pass, otherwise I check for sulfurous. Okay. And I check the quality down there. Okay, let's look at this one for a minute down here, the cheese or pass. So this is my isolate improve. Let's tackle that one. I see the item quality less than 50. We're going to increment it, and then I'm going to check for Backstage Pass. The change I'd like to do, though, is I'd really like to make the similarity even more common. So if I see these two lines, I almost have that up here in 75 and 76, but the problem is the brace comes down at the bottom. So I'm doing the update of the item quality, and then checking the Backstage Pass and so on. It would really be nice if I could put the brace up here, okay, and then take out the one down here. Okay, now this is one where I'm arguing myself into it. I'm saying, if it's less than 50, I update it. Okay, if it's less than, I have the same constraint down here. It's never going to get bigger than 50 or less 49, whatever. So if I have that go through this path, there's no way it's going to go through this one or this one if it's already greater than or equal to 50. So I'm convincing myself that's safe. I don't have the proof, There's no refactoring in the tool that's going to guarantee that for me. So it's more relying on the semantics of the language. And fortunately, the tests are still running. So I see this one now. I've got to check for this less than 50 in item quality. I've got this one. I've got this one. Do I have any others up here? Yeah, here's another one. So let's look at just taking this, and I'd like to extract a method for that, and I'll just call it increment quality. Okay. Now, when I do this, notice that it occurs all over the place. IDEA detects 3 other code fragments that could be replaced. Would you like to review them and replace them? Yeah. I'm gonna trust that all these places that did this increment, I can and replace it with a call. Okay. And again, we'll run those tests. So now this method is a little more clear, but let's look back up here. So what I want to do is I want to simplify this OR, because I see there's stuff going on. If it's a backstage pass, do something, and then if it is, do something else. But if it's not, do a different path. I'm pretty sure I can simplify that. So I'm gonna do another unusual refactoring, I guess, and I'm going to duplicate this. Okay, so I'm checking for this condition and update cheese or pass, and otherwise check the same condition, which can't happen because it's already through the else, so it should be safe to do that. Okay, and now I'm going to simplify these. So this one, I'm just going to look at the cheese, and this one, I'm going to do the opposite and just look at the concert. Okay, and again, it's manual, so I'm a little more careful to run things. Okay, so now I see if it's cheese, do update cheese or pass. If it's backstage pass, do that. So let's inline one of these, and I'm just going to inline this one invocation for now, and do things there. So what I see is if it's equal to Brie, then increment quality, and then if the name is equal to backstage pass, do this other block. Okay, well, if I know the name is equal to Brie, I know it can't be equal to the concert, the backstage pass. So this path can never be executed. Okay, so I'm just deleting it. All right, and again, run the test right there. I could be ambitious and take both at the same time and clean them out and all that, but I'm trying to be careful, and so I isolate it first and then bring it back in. So this is that isolate, improve, inline pattern. Okay, so we did some improvements down here when we took the increment quality out, and now I'm inlining it and using the new context to be good, useful again. So let me do that. This time it's the last occurrence, so we'll go ahead and take them all. Okay, now if it's backstage pass, increment quality. If it's backstage pass, we know that's still true. Okay, so I'll just pull the if off. Okay, and reformat and run. Okay, so at this point, this method is much more how I want it. Okay, it looks at the name for Brie or pass. It does some work. It looks at the name of sulfurous, does some work, and otherwise this last case comes in. Okay, and again, I'm going to do a little merging here. So this is really the fall through case. So we fall through in every case and update that quality if we can. Okay, so no harm in an if it's the only path through the bottom there. And then I'd like to merge this if together. And sometimes that's a refactoring that the tool knows, but let's see if that works. Okay, that's what I want. So now the path is very much focused on the name, and a default case. This return, it's the last thing in the path through, so IntelliJ offers that we can delete it, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so that method's a lot nicer now, and we start to see we could put the quality in this place if we wanted to. So we've made some progress, but we're going to clean it up even further before we start trying to put that conjured item in. Sorry, the conjured item. All right, and let's look at item update expired now. Okay, and the same kind of thing is going on. It looks like the conditions are a little simpler. Okay, so let's let IntelliJ invert it again. Okay, so if it's Brie, do increment quality. Else, if it's not, passes. So let's invert that again. Okay, so you're starting to see the structure is actually more similar than it was obvious before. So we're again checking the name for pass, or for Brie for pass. And then we have, again, this little same pattern. So let's make sure everything's still green. Okay, and I'm going to do my little statements, if statement swap. Again, the two statements I'm swapping have no dependency on each other, so we're both going to be there either way. You can kind of justify it if you think about putting in, converting a nested if into an if statement with ampersands or something. So it looks like a legit change. Okay, but make sure. Okay. Okay, and I'd like to, again, kind of fold the structure together a little more. Okay, so let's see if I can merge. All right, that's nice. I'll invert. Okay, and I think we said we could merge. No, only if I put the else in again. Okay, and I justify that because it's the only path through. We would have returned otherwise. So let's run tests because I did manual. And let's see if the merge comes in. Yeah. Okay. So now this is an example of that increasing duplication I talked about. Both these methods have the same structure. Look for Brie, look for pass, look for sulfurous, and look for default case. Okay. Once again, the return is not needed. Okay. So much more similar structure. And I'll take advantage of that as I go. Okay. So let's kind of seeing where we are. We've got increment quality. This one's a little odd. It can be replaced with 0. Okay. Yeah, so we're just item quality equals item quality minus item quality. That's really just 0. So once again, the tool came through for us with a nice smart suggestion. Okay. All right. And the other one I see is this. And that corresponds to decrement in quality. So let's try that. And there's another one of those. And run tests. Okay. And I'm just going to move this one down there with the other one. Okay. And just for safety. Okay, so at this point, it's all pretty straightforward based on the name type, and it's pretty clear that's the driver of things. I'd like to move to a little different structure and introduce the notion of categories. I'm kind of looking at these as deciding what category the item is. Because if it's a cheese, the requirements mention cheese, but we really only have this one example of aged brie. But we can certainly foresee getting a nice cheddar in or something. And we go by the type on all these. So I could look at I might look at moving this stuff over into the item, okay, because that would be kind of a natural home for some of this. But we said we couldn't touch that class. So, as I look through these, it's updating the quality on that item. And if I look at the item update, the whole thing is about item quality, item quality. It really does sound like a feature envy kind of smell. Everything I'm doing is reaching over to that other item class to do the work. So it would be nice to just move that over, and we could physically, right? So let's see, move is just F6. It offers the option. It says, I could put this class over on item for you, and that might be a way to go. Another possibility we could do is to wrap that item. So I could make, maybe call it item 2 for now, but item 2 is going to hold an instance of item, and I'll let item 2 pick up the methods that I want to change or want to move over, okay? But I think in this case, we'll just kind of create a categorization type thing. So, and this is kind of a blend of refactoring and development in a way. I mean, all the steps are kind of like plausible and harmless, but it's not really a pure refactoring. So I'll just put those braces on. I probably could have let the smart tool do it, but I'm going to make up that there's an item category object. Okay, and let's see, can I introduce a local variable? Okay, let's just call it category. Okay, so I'm making this new class, and I will just I'll just create an inner class for now, and down there, private class inner category. Okay, so all I did was create an instance of a new class that has nothing in it. It's I guess you could call it a refactoring. It's not changing the behavior of the code, but we're gonna work with that. Okay, so I'd like to bring in the notion of deciding what this category is. So let me extract out a little method for that. Categorize. Okay, and we'll do that. I'd like to change the signature, because I'm assuming I'm going to look in the item to categorize it. So that was Apple F6. I'm going to pass in an item and call it item, and the default value is I guess item sub I. Well, let me cancel that and clean that up a little first then. Okay. I guess when I did my backwards rolls, I missed that one. So let's fix that. Okay. Now it's called item, which is a name I'd rather have. And we'll put that in now. Okay. So the type is item, value is item, default value is item. And I'm just updating this signature down here. Okay, so the idea is you look at the item and you figure out the category, and then we'll use that to update the thing. So again, this is all pretty minor and safe. Okay, so tests all run. I'm categorizing the item, and I'd like to see the category go in with the item here. And I can conceive a different design where items know their category, and I don't think we'll quite push it that far, but you'll see we're going to pass item and category a lot, and that also suggests there's an opportunity there. So I'm going to just add in the category. And it's going to call it category and category. Okay, so I'm just trying to get that passed along through. Okay, and now if the items need to update the quality, we're going to look at the category. So I'm sort of assuming the category knows this item name stuff. So let's continue pushing it in. So I'll push it in this one. And we'll just do all of them right here. Now, it's possible if I'd known I was going to go this way, it might have worked out more easily. I could have kept that along as I was doing it originally, but the structure with all those if statements was so crazy, I just couldn't really see it from there. But you might have noticed it before I did and thought it would be a good idea, or you might have decided to wrap item and build the category in, or some other decision. Okay, so let's make sure everything's still running, and we've got the categories are still marked gray because we're never using them in the method there. Okay, so I could look at the categories, and then let me push it down to here. Again, there may be a better way to go, but I think this is the way to go from where we are. And this one. Category and category. Okay, so now I'm at the point where I have access to that category there, and let's try pushing these methods over. So I'll just do a move, and notice it looks and says, oh, you got these two parameters. It's probable you want to move your method over to one of those. So let's move it over to item category. Okay, so we got that method over there, and we'll do that same thing here. Move to item category. All right. So I feel like it's progress because item category is kind of closer in spirit to item. So it makes sense to have it closer to that than over to this updating process. Okay. But yeah, so I think this is all an improvement. And let's go ahead and pull this over to the three methods we've got here. So I will move them to item category. And my justification is everything about them is pretty much about items and or categories. So we'll do that. So the method comes in. Same thing for this one. And update quality. All right. So automated ones I pretty much trust, but we'll run them again anyway. All right, so if I look at the Gilded Rose class now, it's much simpler. So it knows the list of items, it knows how to categorize them and then update one item at a time. And everything else is over on that category class. You know, I look at this and I think, oh, it might make sense to have that over there too, because again, I think in terms of Envy, where is it going to do all its work? Well, almost everything's in category, a little bit's in item. You know, so let's push this over as well. I'm less sure that's a good move, but we can always put it back out if we decide to later. Okay, so we've got the very simple up here now. We just update each item based on the category, and then all the work happens in the category based on the type of the item. Okay, so what I'd like to do then is I want to start peeling off the categories. So I know I have at least four categories here: the cheese, the Backstage Pass, the sulfurous, the legendary item, and the default case. So let's see. So what I'll do, we ran the test. So what I'd like to do is say, you know, under some circumstances, I know what the item is, and you know, I think if I look through that code a little bit, this is the case that that always seems to be doing nothing. Okay, so we were returning or just doing nothing. So let's take a peel off from that. Okay, so I'm going to say if that condition is true, if it's equal to Hand of Ragnaros, I'm going to return a new legendary item. Okay, so I'm making up this class name, and I'll let this thing create it. So inner class legendary, and you know, notice that it determined that it was really part of an item category because of the way I was using it. Okay, as of now, it inherits all its methods, so there's no risk or chance of danger there. But we'll just run the tests. Okay, and then I'd like to pull over these methods and simplify them based on what category I'm in. Okay, so so we'll do one at a time for now, and then move forward. So you know, I think there's a There is a push down, but I don't remember if I can leave it up in the parent too. Okay, I don't really see an option for that. But what I do see is, it tells me which ones are dependent, which is interesting. So I can see that, you may need update one item is going to be affected or something if I push that down. So let me cancel that, and I'll make these protected to kind of reflect how I want to use them. So they're really methods used by the subclasses here. Okay, and I'll just take a copy of this for now. Okay, and down here we'll put this method. Okay, I'll have to do the same thing with these. Okay, protected. Whoops. Where's my decrements and increments? Okay. Probably would have been better if I'd spotted those before, but okay. Red lines are gone, so that's okay. Okay, so we're running, if it's a legendary item, we're calling this update expired case. Otherwise, we're just using the methods from before, okay? So now, knowing that it's legendary, okay, I can simplify this because, again, this isn't refactoring the tool's gonna know, but I know because I make sure that the only time I create a legendary is up here, okay, when I know that the name is sulfurous, which is a legendary item. So I can simplify. If it's Bree, do something. If it's Backstage, do something. If it's sulfurous, do nothing. And otherwise, the default case, well, I know I'm sulfurous, so I can just simplify it away. Okay. Again, I'm arguing myself from my knowledge of the semantics of what's safe, but my tests do run, so that's a good sign. So update expired gets very simple. Let's be more ambitious. We'll take both these. Okay. Now again, they're safe at this point. I'm good to duplicate them, but I'm going to simplify them. So this case, if the item is not named sulfurous, okay, well we know the item is named sulfurous, so this method goes down to nothing. And same thing for this one. The only branch that goes through sulfurous is here, and it's an empty branch. So again, I'm convincing myself that this is a safe move. I like that little touch there. It takes care of the spaces. So let's run this. Okay, so at this point, I've peeled off and simplified the sulfurous case. I can go back up in here and say, well, I know these cases are not sulfurous, so there's no need to check them anymore. So this branch can't happen because we already took those out. Okay, that one still does, but this one doesn't. Okay, so I simplified the legendary item. Now I can simplify the remaining items. Again, my knowledge of what's going on and the fact of how I create them. Okay, but with that, we've got one much simpler case. Okay, let me go through the next few. So another case we look for is Brie. So let's go categorize that one. If it's Brie, we'll return new cheese and create an inner class for that. Okay, and I'm going to go a little faster. So I convinced myself that it was safe to move a couple at a time. Let's move all three in at once. Okay, and again, I do this way, so I'm duplicating it because I know I'm going to be able to simplify it even more with it in its place like that. So I'm calling the exact same code on the subclass method, but now I know I'm a cheese, so update expires. We don't have to check anymore, and these other cases can't happen. Okay. Update sell-in, I know that's still it's not equal that. Okay. I can simplify that because I know it's not sulfurous. And then same thing down here, Brie. Okay, and we'll format and check. Okay, so I've got two of these classes out there now. Okay, I don't need to check for the Brie case anymore, so this if statement is no longer going to get hit in that case. Same argument there. Okay, and let's run. Okay, and I can see I missed a simplification. I know that update cell in this, if it's a sulfurous, it goes down here and does nothing. But in the main class, it can't be sulfurous anymore. So this if statement isn't really needed. Okay, so that one's safer. Okay, so, but I also noticed this one really is overriding it to do the same thing. So this override doesn't actually do anything. So let's just leave that up in the parent for now, since the legendary item is the only one that worries about that. Okay, and we'll peel off our Backstage Pass. I guess I can take this whole chunk. If it's that, it's a new Backstage Pass. Again, my class doesn't have one, so we'll do that. And I'll pull these two methods in. Update expired. And update quality. Okay, again. Yeah, it's nice they're running quickly, and it's good I can be safe this way. So I know I'm in Backstage Pass the only way I got here, so I'm doing the same kind of cleanup I did before. If it's Backstage Pass, let me I could be a little more safe because it's like that. You know, that one's kind of a bigger leap, so I'll just delete the else clause, still good. Now I know I'm that. I can delete one of my corresponding braces, reformat, and run again. Okay, so I've peeled off three classes: Legendary, Cheese, and Backstage Pass. I can simplify this one again. So the only case left is decrement quality item. And this one, the case is another decrement quality item. And format, okay. Okay, so at this point, I've got the categories at least reasonably peeled off. I check for the three I know, and then I have a default that returns to item category. You might decide that maybe there's a default item category or something. I'm going to leave it this way for now and let this one do it. But you know, I definitely would follow my pair on that one. But we're left with this method that's kind of the template method that knows the three steps to update quality, sell in, and expired, and we have ways to do those. Okay, so at this point, it's not in bad shape. I think most of these little warnings are access things, and I'm not going to bother separating out the classes into separate files that I would probably do in a full implementation here, but just to keep things handy for us, I'll leave them local, and you know, and you can fix the private and protected and so on. My guess is I'm probably more willing to leave things a little more open than they suggest, and I can update my preferences somewhere if I need to. All right, so at this point, let's go back to our test, or maybe let's look at our specs. You know, the thing we wanted to add was conjured items. Okay, so the notion of
Excuse me, Bill. Sorry, uh, I interrupt you, but I believe the sound is actually gone and we can't hear you. Please check your headsets, mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I don't know. I hope not too much was lost. Okay. At any rate, so I'm changing this to go to a 4 now, and I expect my test to fail at this point. Okay, which is not surprising because it was 5 and it was passing. So if I look down here, I can see the difference, and really it's only in this last line. It expected conjured to a cake to come out as a 4, and it's still a 5. Okay, exactly the problem we'd expect. All right, so now I've got I'm more in a TDD or test run development cycle at this point. I've got a failing test. It's a little high level of a test maybe, but it's still we can work from that test for sure. So to deal with this, I'm going to create a new item that's really for these conjured items, all right? And the test I know for this is, we'll just say item.name starts with conjured, okay? And if that's the case, we'll return new conjured, all right? And create that class. And again, it's a subclass of item category, and really, I'm just going to update the defaults, okay? And the problem is the quality is supposed to degrade at twice the rate, okay? So in this case, I'll push this down and push update quality down, okay? Now we're still running a copy of the same thing that was an item category. So that should still feel the same way. Okay, yeah. And we wanted to say this thing is supposed to move twice as fast. So decrement. Okay, decrement. All right. And so because we've gotten things so cleaned up, that change was much quicker. If we try to do it with the original code, with all those nested if statements and so on, it would have been much harder to do that right and to have confidence in it. As I look at this, I'm still going to I've still got some things I'm not completely happy with, or I might still want to change, but it's a pretty stable point. I guess the only thing I'm a little wondering here is I had these decrement qualities. It's not clear to me that both those got triggered through my test case, okay, because I'm not crossing a line with an expired date on these things, on these conjured cakes. So I have a little doubt in my mind there, and given that, I would probably write some more tests around that. It's late enough in the hour that I'm not gonna bother with that. But we'll go through the code a little bit and just kind of see where things are. So that little caveat that we may not have enough tests here. I'll reformat. Okay. I'm reasonably okay with this stuff. It might be nice. I would look at a design where maybe items know their category would make sense to me. So when I create the item, or let's call it item 2, I would give it the old item with those sell and quality attributes, and then maybe the category, and the test might reflect that. I make that part of uh, doing this, so I might do something that's like new cheese here and push that out away from the Gilded Rose updating and make it much more part of the way the item is created in the first place. And if you think of an application, if you enter new items in a store application, there's probably a drop down somewhere where you put the category of the item and the price and the characteristics and so on, and the category there would make good sense to me. So I would look at moving that out here and deciding whether I needed a second item class. Okay, would be a reasonable move. And then this code would not be there. It would be more hard coded in to just create the right type in the first place. I noticed that my classes for these things are stateless in effect. I mean, they were looking at the item to get the state, so I don't need to create brand new ones for each case. I could just create a single instance of each. Okay. I still have some constants that are a magic number kind of thing. That's a little worrisome. And I can certainly extract out a constant or something, but I'm not going to deal with that now. These are a little funny. Again, it's probably in a real application, you probably wouldn't be hard coding these in code. You'd probably have some little breakpoints you add into based on the category or something like that, because you can certainly imagine items that shift their level of decrease of quality maybe based on that. One thing I noticed, the requirements somewhere, they talk about 10 days and 5 days. Okay, this code talks about 11 and 6, which is really 10 plus 1. I might do this. Less than 11 is less than or equal to 10, and less than 6 is less than or equal to 5 since they're integers. Just to kind of make those show up there. So, and there's a refactoring. I can extract a constant. Okay. Do I want to put it in Backstage Pass, or let's put it locally for now. And this is I don't know, price break or something, or quality break. And I'm forgetting my conventions. I don't know. Whoops, don't know what that was. But at any rate, I can pull those out a little bit, and it may be that those become arguments to a constructor or something like that, rather than having to be in here. I'm not sure it really communicates that much better to me like that than it did for this. So we'll just pull that back for now. Okay. But it's all at a pretty reasonable point. There's nothing nested too deeply or anything like that. Kind of one level deep inside an if or a for, and it's all pretty much at that level, or just straight up does something. So I'm going to call that done for now, because I want to come back to my presentation a little bit and answer any questions we might have along the way. Okay, so let's go over here. So this is back to these same points I mentioned. So hopefully now they make sense that you've seen them. So rely on the IDE where you can. I do that a lot. If I can get it to do the work, I always do that, even though I could copy and paste to extract a method and so on, but the tool has all the semantics of the language in it and knows when it's safe and tells me when I have multiple return values or other things that might be a challenge. And it doesn't take long to learn the shortcuts. I don't know, I used half a dozen maybe inline extract method. I use those all the time. I use the smart the alt enter to get the smart help, extracted a variable or a constant, rename, move, change signature. Again, less than 10 things in your hand, and you really can move forward quickly. But I also mix up with those manual refactorings. So I know things the IDE doesn't, either because of the nature of the code and the paths through it, or maybe even the nature of the data that's coming in. So sometimes I can do something that's kind of it's still a refactoring because I know it's safe, but it's certainly manual, and sometimes it's more semi-refactoring, I guess. We saw that paradox of duplication, where I increase duplication, I'm copying things, simplify it, make sure it still works, put it back, that kind of pattern. And again, using that isolate, improve, inline tactic, where I can isolate it, improve the code I isolated, and maybe improve the context, and then push them back together and improve it some more. And that if statement swap. So some practice there. I do want to give an offer to you that we put together an album we're calling katas or code katas that you can practice if you want to try this exercise yourself. It's certainly around on the web as well. It's not the only place to get it, but we're going to hopefully add a kata a month for a while and see how that goes for you. So are there any questions I can answer before we close out?
I've been following the questions and I answered pretty much all questions. But if some of you have any other questions, just send them to us after the webinar. We'll address them in the follow-up emails. So at the moment, yeah, all the questions are answered.
Okay, great. Well, thank everybody for watching, and have a good rest of your day. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, for a wonderful presentation, and thanks everyone for your time. I'll be looking forward to having you joining us in future webinars. Thank you, and have a good day.